So now this had killed the market for, of course. So now this had killed the market for, of course.
naye baba ekiri eno okiwulira
tandika mukama wange
tandika ggwe
bali mu ofiisi yankulu. All right, you're welcome on Black Hot Fire Network. Good evening from Uganda. I'm not going to say Kampala because I'm not in Kampala right now. But of course, you're welcome. Those who have just joined us here on Black Hot Fire Network, YouTube, Black Hot Fire Network 2, and of course, Facebook, Black Hot Fire Network Radio, and Twitter, Black Hot Fire Network 1. It is a very, 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 very good weather. We have a very good weather today outside here. I don't know how the temperatures are in Kampala. I don't know. But I can see, I think we are the same because I'm seeing INNOSSETU wearing a jacket, I guess. But yeah, I'm enjoying this place, and I love the sceneries around here, the beauty. Of course, today's discussion is the reasons behind Russia-Mali nuclear deals. And for those who are just joining us, of course, I'm Africa Maria with my colleague INNOSSETU. You're welcome. Come on.
Eh? Good evening, everyone from Kampala, Uganda. Actually, for me, I'm in the capital of Uganda, and that is Kampala, Uganda. Let me hope everyone is doing good wherever you're watching from. My name is INNOSSETU, and of course, in Uganda, it is of course 48 minutes past 4. It is evening. For you that are just waking up right about now, good morning to you, but it's evening this time, this side. Those that are watching us from Twitter, thank you for watching. Those from Facebook, and of course, YouTube, and that is Black Hot Fire Network too. Thank you for watching. It is Tuesday. Today is Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday.
Yeah, it is a Wednesday. Yeah. Today's topic is course the reasons behind Russia-Mali nuclear deals. We know that uh, ever since ever since France uh, left West African countries, we have been seeing uh, Russia, of course, putting a hand, actually leaving footprints of course, in these, of course, West African countries. Mali is not the first country where Russia has, of course, showed its existence. There are a lot of course, there are a lot of countries in the western part of Africa where Russia is, of course, putting its existence. But whenever new, of course, deals are made, Russia is aiming uh, on, of course, on it's so much, of course, putting its emphasis on building nuclear, of course, nuclear plants in these areas. So today we are going to, of course, to expand this topic and talk about the reasons behind why Russia pretends to building, of course, nuclear plants in different West African countries. A case in point, Russia. Sorry, Mali that we are going to talk about. So most of the West African countries, uh, yeah, actually it is called the Sahel part of Africa. These countries are led by junta. Um, they're led by junta, of course, presidents. When I talk about junta presidents, these are presidents that are existing in those countries that happened as a result of uh, a coup. So these presidents, they came as a result of a coup. They overthrown the certain, actually they are military officers in politics or as presidents, because a coup is led by military officers. When we look at Guinea, is one of those countries. When we look at Burkina Faso, is also part of those countries that are led by junta governments. Uh, and of course, other countries in the western part of Africa. But prior, we see that France was putting its existence in the western part of Africa for a long time. So after France, after these countries had woken up and of course had different governments led by junta presidents, now we see that Russia is showing interest, or Russia is putting its touch in these countries, the West African countries. So we know what France did in those countries, and of course, um, uh, by the time actually France had spent decades, had spent a lot of time within these countries, the West African countries, and of course, these countries had not achieved anything. Let me say that these are countries where people still remain poor, because when we see, actually, it's not the case, it's the case that was in West African countries or that was in West Africa. It is not the case that we are having here, in, of course, in East Africa. Yes, we had, of course, colonial leaders here in East Africa, but we don't have that direct we don't have that direct interference here in East Africa of of course, of colonial masters here in East Africa. As it is in, of course, in West African countries, we see that France, even actually here in Uganda, we don't have British military here. We don't have it. We don't have Russia military or bases stuff here in Uganda. We don't have it. But when you look at most of the West African countries, these are countries you look the France had military bases in those parts of course, Africa. A lot of the French army was within those areas. It is the same thing. It is the same method that Russia is doing. It is, of course, it is putting, of course, its army bases in those areas. We see army, of course, army bases of Russia in those areas, just like it was with with France when it was putting existence in in those West African countries, even Mali inclusive. So after these, of course, West African countries turned to Russia and they had no more interest with France. Now they made deals with Russia. Now they chased whatever the French people had put in those countries, including media, because they had, of course, invested a lot in whatever that makes up a country, in the political structure of those West African countries, in their economy, media, because there were even some TVs and radios for the French people, for France within, of course, those West African countries. When we look at, of course, these people, like it is normally, like we normally see that whenever we see Bazungus here in Africa, they normally target the mineral-rich areas. They had soldiers within those mineral-rich areas. So it is the same case with Russia. Russia is now, of course, moving to different, of course, different West African countries as a sympathizer. it has it is showing sympathy for these countries for being exploited by by the French. So it's like giving let me take it a fake help to these countries. There is of course I read about some 2 days back, I read about a certain article where Putin was saying that he's going to protect Ibrahim Traore up to the end. He's going to protect him. So it means Russia is just protecting its slaves from external attacks. Okitegeera? Okitegeera? It's protecting its so it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen, of course, to Ibrahim Traore, but wherever Russia is having a footprint, even in Mali, they are going to protect those presidents. That's why we don't see transitional governments. These people are not transiting their government to civilians. Ever since they, of course, they made the coups, we have not seen any president. Yes, yet they say military officers, they're just keeping peace. They are going to allow the, of course, civilians to rule the country, but we have not seen any transition um, ever since the coups happened. They are now like 3 to 2 years ever since the coup happened in these areas, but we have not seen any presidents. So Russia is keeping going now. Wow. Okay. Eri kumuguwa oji topinitane
Live our chicken. I'm to channel. You're about to hear an about saying, meh. You're about to hear,
anyway, so so the biggest deal I'm seeing that Russia is, of course, is focusing too much on nuclear plants. I don't know scientifically whether this is the new move, this is the new technology, this is the technology trend that is trending across the world, building nuclear plants across the world. Maybe it is the new trend of technology, but in reality, when you look at Mali as a country, for now, does it need nuclear plants? Hmm? How do these nuclear plants going to help people of Mali? Hmm?
nuclear plants no ziyamba okwimproving technology mukwano.
Technology agenda kuyamba ki abantu?
Teziringa nga byakulwanyisa gaffe bwe
ayimba
tukiraba
agenda kuyamba atya abantu
mu ngeri nnyingi lwakubeera bali be bagenda benefitinga.
kale yogerako.
Anyway, you see, when at times, anyway, this is what people want, I should say. This is what a lot of people want. When Mali had its ruling military junta, everyone celebrated Mali's success and all that. But like I said this yesterday on our show, and I'm still gonna say this because this is the truth. And it really doesn't matter how people are gonna view this, but this is the truth. You see, in Africa's politics, like I said, we usually see people coming forward. We celebrate their strength, but at times there are powers behind. And no matter how much everyone denies this is the system. There are always people at the front, the usual faces that the world wants to see, that the world is going to celebrate and, of course, jubilate. Politics is a game. You can never run away from that fact. If at all, even the fights, the demonstration, the protests are still running around the same structure called politics. Always remember there is that in this game. And you see, it is high time I think people stopped using their excitement to determine, but rather question the existence of a lot of these things. Now we have a nuclear deal with Mali. Mali, with its new junta military, of course, uh, uh, let me say, gained freedom, like people
Goita.
called it some time back, and everyone celebrated Mali. From there, we celebrated Burkina Faso. We celebrated a lot of countries in the western part of Africa. We are going to see another phase of colonization. We are going to see another phase of Africa being controlled. And this time, I'm sorry to disappoint everyone who loves this, but it may be more terrible than what we can imagine. It may be more terrible because I can tell you Russians are not a joke. They know how to play with the mind. They are good at this. It's going to be terrible. This is something a lot of people don't want to listen to. All we need is to have new change. All we need is to have new faces. It is one thing for me to say I don't want to do business deals with the United States of America, but I want to do these deals with Russia and China. So what is the difference? The difference is how these three benefit or exploit me or distort me, but at the ending point of it all is I'm still going to be used by these same people I'm signing agreements with. When we saw Mali some time back, we have got a lot of people hiding behind the actions of different things. We have got people betraying their own. We have got leaders betraying their own countries. We have got deals that have been sent on tables, government tables in Africa, but they are not revised because probably the current president doesn't want to sign those deals. And we have got people who put their hands on those deals and they promise the ones who were rejected that if at all you help me come into power, I promise all these deals you see that dude refused to sign, I'm going to sign those deals for you. We have got such a situation still here. Now, the nuclear, the Russia and Mali nuclear deal, First of all, we know that France had even started constructing some more nuclear plants where it was using the mineral resources of the countries where it, of course, it had the power, like Burkina Faso and Mali. Now, this time around, Russia says, yeah, I think Russia wants the same thing France wanted from these countries. Except this time, with the France took, whether you like it or not, I'm taking this. And this time round, Russia says, we are going to sign deals. As much as we are chasing France away, I too want what France wanted. Now, the only difference, like I said, is Russia is making deals and people are agreeing to the conditions of Russia, compared to France, who was taking forcefully and probably claiming it was his will to take whatever he wants. Okay? But we have seen now, if Russia wakes up and says, I'm giving full military support and defense to Mali leader, this is not the first time we are seeing people do this. Russia has declared protection of over many political leaders, and even the government of Uganda included, right? And when the US came out and was like, we're going to put down the president of Uganda, we're going to send missiles to Uganda during those days of World War I, Russia said, try it. Why? They have something. No one can stand up to defend if they're not benefiting. We have got silent organizations. We have got silent organizations moving, of course, taking place between Uganda and Russia. And actually, cameras don't show this thing. Now, this is what Russia has also been doing in the West African countries. Russia has existed in West African countries for quite some time, but it usually claimed that it wasn't interfering with these people's politics and whatever. For it is out there for deals. That is a catchy. So, so the nuclear deals are the reasons behind a lot of these deals, more especially the nuclear deal that Russia is of course having with Mali. We know that Russia has signed apparently 3 cooperation agreements, and it has discussed projects including the construction of a Russian designed low power nuclear power plant, and also the Rosatom's, of course, stated the Rosatom publishment has also been, of course, you remember when sometime back when we said France was controlling the entire media of most of the West African countries, and Russia now is still doing the same. It is involved. It is, of course, giving in shares to different media platforms. So most of the media platforms are having corporations with Russia. Now, this is the same thing that France was doing. I don't know what is making it different. I don't know what difference Russia is making. But I feel like most of us at times, like I said, we skip the real deal. I know a lot of people may agree. You know, when you change a leader, you change the system. No, these leaders find the system there. Unless it's going to be a rebellion. And even when the rebellion comes, there are some systems they don't change. Because at the end of it all, they need support. The system most of these systems we have are systems that are stronger than the leaders. And I'm like, yeah, I know. People are gonna be like, when you change the leader, you change the system. No, you don't change no system because there is someone beyond. There is someone stronger than the political leaders we see that structured this system, starting from the word democracy. So the things are not going to change. And me, I'm not this kind of person who's going to be so excited about a lot of things. I don't waste my time being excited about nothing. And at the end of the day, I don't want to be heartbroken. I don't want to live in that mental crisis of, I thought things going to be different. I know how things usually end. And the moment I will see something right, I will know this time around, this is right. Because right is right from the word go. But anyway, now when we saw France, of course, taking control over the media, when you control the media, it's like you're controlling the mind of the people. You decide the adverts are going to run on the media showing France and the beauty of France and all that, and the media only showing the power of France and what France is doing in West Africa, the things, the beautiful things that France, of course, and that if at all you don't wake up, you may not understand that there is more harm than good. Now Russia is also signing some deals and some deals with some media houses in, of course, and publishing houses in Mali as well, just like we've been seeing this in other countries, more especially the West African countries. K. Williams says, "What's up, people? Hope all is well today. I've been extremely busy lately. Yeah, but well, we are happy that you're here today. Now we know that when this a lot the government, of course, of Mali, after signing this, they also talked about the solar energy production and geological exploration projects together with, of course, Russia. So we are going to see a lot, apparently, the solar energy, geological exploration projects that, of course, they discuss about, and like I said, they signed three agreements at the same time, and we are looking at, of course, mutakazi ukuseleyekanga anditwamuleseye base azokusedala bekiferanga atwafudde dda ngerako nsokendako omutaka.
KWDM says, yes, I'm here listening. I see protesting started back in Kenya. Yeah, true. Protesting protesting started yesterday in Kenya. Actually, it did not start, but of course, it resumed with, of course, with the new aims and goals. Now people are demanding Ruto to put down whatever he got through elections. So he goes. So people want, of course, another person, of course, in the politics of Kenya. The Kenyans now, actually, the protests that are going on in Kenya now, they are anti-government protests. protests. They don't believe with the government. But going back to uh, going back to of course Russia and Mali. Russia is of course Russia is having new, of course, let me call it a new strategy. Uh, let me call it that. Let me call it a new strategy because Keith actually always says here, or we always we know that there is no, of course, there is no Muzungu, or there is no, of course, someone who is not an African who is going to invest a lot in Africa without aims of achieving something at the end of it. However much Africans we don't learn, however much Africans we lack knowledge on what to do. Let me say that. Because when you see most of the West African countries, these are countries actually at the moment when they left, of course, France, they turned to Russia immediately. So it means it is very hard for African countries to get out of this trap. Because how can a country like Mali, like Burkina Faso, like Guinea, Gabon, and Ivory Coast and others, why is it that after chasing out the French from, of course, Gabon, from Mali, now we turn to Russia? Russia is doing the same things France used to do in another name called Russia. They are exploiting minerals in those countries in another name called Russia, not France. Singa kamera wagigyeko lumu okusinga okutambula bw'otyo. Sikuwulira nze. So so I was saying that of course, actually, let me ask you, like, what makes African countries, or what makes, of course, people, what oluggi lwakite mu luggala nze temwosesa. Exactly, Russia is K. Williams from Facebook says, yes, Russia is not your friend, not your friend. So at the end, actually, this is how the thing is going to move. Maria, I guess this is how the thing is going to move. We shall see that Russia, after exploiting these countries, we shall see another person coming in at the end, or will be USA, or will be China, because that is how the system goes. Like, we don't learn. Let me say that we don't learn. We don't know our worth.
Africans have a certain kind of excitement. I don't know. Turamba
By
bwensigala
excitement.
bwensigala
We have
otuwulira
excitement. We have excitement. Mhm.
bwensigala otuwulira echo okiwulira. Africans have a certain excitement, and this is why we are falling prey to this kind of scamming, in names of leadership and all that. We have that excitement. Me, I don't know whether it is worthy. Those people who lose, for the people who lose their lives, for the family who lose their loved ones. I don't know whether it is worth it for them to see their children die only to again go through the same thing that they have been fighting for. Why do we have this? We are being lied to, we are being scammed, we are being, of course, convinced. But the problem is, a lot of people don't know what we really want. Because if we knew exactly what we wanted, we would not be out there sacrificing our souls for the greedy people. Not once, not twice, not thrice, but many times we have been doing this. All right? Russia is not Africa's friend. And I'm sorry, a lot of people are celebrating Ibrahim Traore. Yeah, yeah, Traore. You know, he's a youth, young man taking over Burkina Faso and all that. When a young guy taking over, you know, we need that. Are you sure? That is what we need. We need something more than a young person taking over. We need something more than youth taking control. We need something because we have had people who are not youth and have been throughout history. We've had great people. We've had great men of wisdom. We've had a lot of people that should actually be remembered. It is not about age. It is about what are these people going to deliver. But of course, and this is why I said we have got a lot of excitement. When Ibrahim Traore took over Burkina Faso, I was partially excited because Burkina Faso has been going through a lot for a very long time. And actually, change was inevitable, that is one, and it was needed in Burkina Faso, and it's also needed in other African countries that are not experiencing the leadership or the politics to their satisfaction. But I also remember, because I was here in Black Botswana Network, by the way, when I was like, we don't be disappointed to find out that most of these coups that are in the western part of Africa are being backed up by yet another government or another influence that is willing to do the same thing that the people they claim to be fighting have been doing. Now, this is obviously seen in, of course, Mali right now and Burkina Faso because Russia is extending. It's like it is occupying. This time we have had what was this time round we may have few people controlling Africa. Before we had France taking over some western part, we had the British taking over some, we had the Boers, we had whatever. And this time we have other new faces. And with the France, apparently he likes want to take the biggest. And the most funniest thing about this, France and China are one. Because I think these are people who are also going to sit on a table, like we saw German and others sitting on a table and discussing where to control. Okay, as much as China may say, I want to take the business part, I want to deal with the infrastructure and whatever, France is also having another part that it wants to take. And, you know, this is not something to celebrate about like Africans. This is not something we need to celebrate about because it is like you're jumping from the frying pan into the fire and you are still
Maria is lost. But let me try to share this out to everyone to see. Uh,
to extract all of
going
that
to end.
for you, to hand it over to you. And we're supposed to be grateful to you for giving us jobs. You gave us the job of digging up our buried treasures and giving them to you. That's our job. The term should be you can extract our resources for a wage, and those resources will remain in our lands to be refined and processed and used in manufacturing in our lands for our companies. And we will sell the products that we make from our resources to you. Not the current situation where we take out our resources from the earth, give them to you for you to process, for you to refine, and for you to use in manufacturing to make products by your companies that then you sell to us. No, this is backwards. That makes no sense. I mean, it makes sense to you. It makes sense for you, obviously, because you have no respect for the values of fairness and sovereignty. And this should apply to our human resources as well, because you do the same thing with our labor as you do with our natural resources. You extract our labor for your companies, for your products, and for your profits. And all we get is the wage and the privilege of not even being able to afford at that wage to buy the products that we make for you. So no, that has to stop. Our labor for our companies, our products, our goods and services, and you can purchase that from us. Oh, we're commandeering your great reset. We're going to reset your reset because your great reset was just a revival of colonization and slavery. And that's not going to work anymore. And okay, if that means that our minerals must stay in the ground until we reach a higher level of manufacturing capacity, so be it. Because we can drop tools indefinitely. We can stop digging, we can stop drilling, we can stop mining, we can stop extraction until we have our own refining, we have our own processing, and we have our own manufacturing capacity. That's not a problem. We can do that. Now, if you can't wait, we're saying you can invest, but in our companies, invest in our development, invest in our industry to get our capacity up to speed. And if one of your companies wants to work on extraction of our minerals and resources, that's fine too. But you're going to do it for a wage, not for a share of the minerals. We'll pay you for your labor. We'll pay you for your services, the same way that you're paying us a wage for our services now. I mean, when you hire someone to dig a well, for water, you pay him for his work. You pay him to dig the well. He doesn't get to take the water in perpetuity. If you hire someone who owns a moving truck to move your furniture from one house to another, okay, you hire him because he happens to own the truck. So he has the tools, he has the equipment that you don't have, and you need him to do that. So you pay him for the service, but he doesn't get to keep your furniture. So like, for example, if you want to drill oil, okay, drill it, extract it, and we'll pay you for the service. But you don't get a share of the oil. You still have to buy that. Be reasonable. And if that's unacceptable for you, then you'll just have to wait until we have the capacity to drill it ourselves, to extract it ourselves without you. You just have to wait. See, you made us already accustomed to minimum subsistence, so we can cope with it. Because of the way you've treated us, we're used to this. So we can weather an economic slowdown. You can't. It's only a slowdown for you, not for us. For us, it'll be exactly the same. Because we're not getting anything from your extraction in the first place. So if we stop extracting, you're the only one who's going to lose. You pay us a wage to extract all of that for you, to hand it over to you. And we're supposed to be grateful to you for giving us jobs. You gave us the job of digging up our buried treasures and giving them to you. That's our job. The term should be you can extract our resources for a wage, and those resources will remain in our lands to be refined and processed and used in manufacturing in our lands for our companies. And we will sell the products that we make from our resources to you. Not the current situation where we take out our resources from the earth, give them to you for you to process, for you to refine, and for you to use in manufacturing to make products by your companies that then you sell to us. No, this is backwards. That makes no sense. I mean, it makes sense to you. It makes sense for you, obviously, because you have no respect for the values of fairness and sovereignty. And this should apply to our human resources as well, because you do the same thing with our labor as you do with our natural resources. You extract our labor for your companies, for your products, and for your profits. And all we get is the wage and the privilege of not even being able to afford at that wage to buy the products that we make for you. So no, that has to stop. Our labor for our companies, our products, our goods and services, and you can purchase that from us. Oh, we're commandeering your great reset. We're going to reset your reset because your great reset was just a revival of colonization and slavery. And that's not going to work anymore. And okay, if that means that our minerals must stay in the ground until we reach a higher level of manufacturing capacity, so be it. Because we can drop tools indefinitely. We can stop digging, we can stop drilling, we can stop mining, we can stop extraction until we have our own refining, we have our own processing, and we have our own manufacturing capacity. That's not a problem. We can do that. Now, if you can't wait, we're saying you can invest, but in our companies, invest in our development, invest in our industry to get our capacity up to speed. And if one of your companies wants to work on extraction of our minerals and resources, that's fine too. But you're going to do it for a wage, not for a share of the minerals. We'll pay you for your labor. We'll pay you for your services, the same way that you're paying us a wage for our services now. I mean, when you hire someone to dig a well, for water, you pay him for his work. You pay him to dig the well. He doesn't get to take the water in perpetuity. If you hire someone who owns a moving truck to move your furniture from one house to another, okay, you hire him because he happens to own the truck. So he has the tools, he has the equipment that you don't have, and you need him to do that. So you pay him for the service, but he doesn't get to keep your furniture. So like, for example, if you want to drill oil, okay, drill it, extract it, and we'll pay you for the service. But you don't get a share of the oil. You still have to buy that. Be reasonable. And if that's unacceptable for you, then you'll just have to wait until we have the capacity to drill it ourselves, to extract it ourselves without you. You just have to wait. See, you made us already accustomed to minimum subsistence, so we can cope with it. Because of the way you've treated us, we're used to this. So we can weather an economic slowdown. You can't. It's only a slowdown for you, not for us. For us, it'll be exactly the same. Because we're not getting anything from your extraction in the first place. So if we stop extracting, you're the only one who's going to lose.
I guess that video was clear, and of course that is how these people of course Jibjeba says also says his faith will take over the world. Some of his economic analysis I agree with him. Not the religion part. Let me play it again.
To extract all of that for you, to hand it over to you. And we're supposed to be grateful to you for giving us jobs. You gave us the job of digging up our buried treasures and giving them to you. That's our job. The term should be, you can extract our resources for a wage. And those resources will remain in our lands to be refined and processed and used in manufacturing in our lands for our companies. And we will sell the products that we make from our resources to you. Not the current situation where we take out our resources from the earth, give them to you, for you to process, for you to refine, and for you to use in manufacturing to make products by your companies that then you sell to us. No, this is backwards. That makes no sense. I mean, it makes sense to you. It makes sense for you, obviously, because you have no respect for the values of fairness and sovereignty. And this should apply to our human resources as well, because you do the same thing with our labor as you do with our natural resources. You extract our labor for your companies, for your products, and for your profits. And all we get is the wage and the privilege of not even being able to afford at that wage to buy the products that we make for you. So no, that has to stop. Our labor for our companies, our products, our goods and services, and you can purchase that from us. Oh, we're commandeering your great reset. We're going to reset your reset because your great reset was just a revival of colonization and slavery. And that's not going to work anymore. And okay, if that means that our minerals must stay in the ground until we reach a higher level of manufacturing capacity, so be it. Because we can drop tools indefinitely. We can stop digging, we can stop drilling, we can stop mining, we can stop extraction until we have our own refining, we have our own processing, and we have our own manufacturing.
I don't know where INNOSSETU is at. Or maybe the electricity is off. Jibjaba, thank you for joining. Jenna Mosquito, thank you for joining. Kelly, of course, you've been here. Thank you for joining. I'm still trying to take credit for people's work. He also says his faith will take over the world. Some of his economic analysis I will agree with, not the religion part. Of course, it's from Jibjaba. I guess he's, of course, um, connecting this to the video I will just share. So, he's speaking some good truth from that video, except that I'm not sure when he says we what he means. I don't know whether we who. Because he keeps on saying we are not going to we. I don't know whether the people of his religion or something now that Jibjaba says it speaks of his religion. Or is he saying we, the black people, or we, the Africans that are now? Or he means by we and all that. But I don't know how to associate him though. He seems to be a white. The Maria gave me credit for my post from last week. Okay, Williams. But I'm just happy to, of course, see today. We've been asking of you. Jimjaba is always here, and I was like, "What's happening to Ken Williams? He not black, yeah, he not black." I'm just questioning, like, why? What does he mean with that? We need you guys to. We need the who, the who guys. I don't know. So I'm a little bit confused over his identity and how he feels about it and how he's addressing this entire matter. But on a black people's perspective, we really he's speaking some truth, and this is what we really need and we have to demand for. Like in his own perspective, I don't know. I don't know the who's and the who that, given the fact that he looks so different. So I'm a little bit confused with his appearance and the fact that his identity and how he's identifying his needs and what he needs as a person for. Mm. But of course, back to our topic. Wait, Innocent, what had happened?
Highlights were had gone off, so
Ah, Jim Jabba says I tune in to see what snacks you two are chopping on. No, we are not gonna snack anymore. In I thought as much when I saw your lights out. We are not going to snack. No more snacking. Q William says that that white guy is a wannabe Malcolm X. So he's identifying himself as Mutalcam X. I see. Oh, Bugu mungali nzita. But what he said is what we really need, okay? And this, we are rather getting new people who are extracting our minerals, exploiting our resources, and all that. There is nowhere it is written that the youth are going to bring change to Africa or the youth understand it differently. Okay? We need a system, we need an Africa that is going to work together as an African country, as an African continent. We need the unification of these countries under one umbrella in order for us to benefit and help each other. We are not going, and I've not seen that to feed, and I've not seen that so far, you know. You'll get a good food.
against it. So, so actually, the matrix of politics in Africa. Let me say because politics actually these people brought the issue of politics in Africa, and the politics is of course what of course that is draining Africa. Now the issue of course began with the presidents. We want of course young presidents. Besides of course different of course countries changing different faces, the oppressor or the white man is looking for a way of extracting African minerals. He's looking for a new way. He's looking on how he can of course extract African minerals. He has used a lot of ways. He has paid people, he has paid presidents, he has influenced everything or whatever African countries are doing. The white man has, of course, used force. There are countries we know where white people have used force to get minerals. Case in point, Libya. This is where, of course, the Bazungus, this is where the white man has used the force. We know countries where white people have used the force to extract minerals through creating civil wars, through creating tribal wars, through creating religious wars in those countries, creating fake religion for people to follow, not even to, of course, to look at, of course, African resources and stuff. The white man has used all the measures. Now, Africans, we don't have where, let me say, we don't have where to, like, we can't stand for, we believe we can't stand for ourselves. We believe we don't have enough knowledge to guide, to protect what is ours here. Reason, whenever we have a certain group of course, white people, of course, influencing issues in a certain country, whenever a certain group leaves, there is an immediate group that is waiting for African people. They take African people who are vulnerable, African people who don't understand, who need to be guided in whatever that they do. That's why African resources in Africa, they don't have a market. Let me say that resources in Africa, they don't have market here. Jibijaba, if you remember the other time when we had the topic, when we had that big topic about Congo and its resources, yes, people try to sell out. Of course, people try to mine by their own of these resources. But where are you going to sell gold? I've ever asked Maria here, does she know any market? Do you know any market where gold is sold here in Africa? Let it be diamond. Let it be coal. Let it be oil itself. Do you know any market where these things are sold and exchanged? The only way you have to sell these things is on black market. This is the only way you can sell minerals here in Africa, on black market. And once you have minerals, for example, gold, you have diamond, you have to hide. Because once they get you, they will ask you where you got it from. They may even imprison you. Where did you get that gold? Yet we have gold here. So that is the trap where Africans were trapped. That is how Africans were trapped. Like, we think we depend. Actually, Jib Jabba, K. Williams, General Mosquito, and second one, and others, Robert Williams, it is you who see that Africa is rich with minerals. But within Africa here, you can't, of course, you can't earn with these minerals. Jib Jabba says that Muzungu comes in and shortchange you, then takes it to the exchange black market. Yeah, there is no market here, I know, here in Uganda, that is exchanged for gold, that it is a market exchange for gold and money. I don't know, but people make gold deals, people make gold deals, but I don't know any market. But if you ask me, markets of drugs, I will know. If you ask me, robbed, this is Project Jabba. And even when these Bazungus, these white people, are buying these minerals from Africans, different Africans, let them be statesmen, let them be government officials, because these are the people that have access to these Bazungus. Because there is no way an average African is going to get a connection in the US to sell gold. There is no way an average African is going to get a diamond deal in France. It is these government officials that have those links, because they travel outside, that have those links outside. That's why we remain poor. It is the main cause why Africa is considered to be the richest continent. But with the poorest people, true people are poor. We don't know. You can never find, like, we don't have that confidence, we Africans, that we can make good out of our resources that we have here. Even if at all, where of course I'm broadcasting, where the studio is here, where I'm broadcasting live from here right about now, if at all they discover oil beneath where I'm standing, you'll find an you'll find of course a rich man. You'll find a government official buying this land here, peacefully or forcefully. You'll buy the land and they will start extracting. In Uganda, areas where oil and petroleum have been discovered, these are areas where we are seeing actually most of the rich people are leaving the town. Most of the rich people are leaving Kampala, are leaving the urban center to go to those areas where oil has been discovered. Now, how can, like, that is how that is how we keep trapped within these people. That's why we see that West African countries, true, they had got fed up of the French people. They have got fed up of France. And now they're embracing Russia. Like, we can't get out of the trap. You jump from the fire, you go to the flying pan. Or you jump from the flying pan, you get into fire. There is no way we can get out of this trap. And the people that are making us to be in this trap, these are the officials, these are the government officials, these are the governments that we are having here in Africa. Is Kampala the main city in Uganda? Yes, General Mosquito. Kampala is the main city of Uganda. Yeah, Kampala is the main city of Uganda. So the governments we are having, at a times, people get fed up of faces, as they think that these faces, they are the same people that are making us Africans to go in the ditch. Case in point, the Kenyan people. They were seeing this. They were seeing Ruto signing treaties with the UN about deploying. Actually, I've seen an article today that Kenya has deployed more 3,000, more 300 staffed policemen to Haiti. I've read it. I think today morning. But at the time, was people in Africa come to realize, to jump out of the box and think that the leaders that we are having, they are the same people that are making us stay in the situation that we are having. That's why the Kenyan people are waking up to see. They're waking up. They say, we don't want Ruto anymore, because this is a guy that has just started in the power. They expected a lot from this guy. The guy is signing treaties, UN treaties, taking, of course, the police to Haiti. And I don't think whether these policemen will be even paid comparably to what they are doing in Haiti. This is a guy that is living a luxurious life beside of whatever that he said during elections, that is a hustler team staff, that is a hustler. This is a guy that this is a guy that was in the USA recently, shaking hands with Biden. But how does this help Africans? How does this, if you shake hands with Biden, if you take the army if you take the army, police, whatever, to Haiti, how does it help me as INNOSSETU? Because you're leading the country on behalf of me. You're leading the country. Actually, you're representing me as a president. So how does that help me? As me, how does it help me? So that's why actually there are even more countries like Nigeria. Actually, Nigerians wanted to protest because of bad governance. People in Gambia wanted to do the same. People in Zimbabwe, all those people wanted to do the same, just like it happens in Kenya. It is happening in Kenya. They wanted to protest because of bad governance. So, uh, Maria, you better. You get up.
Bande mubiri.
Get up.
You know, like you had talked about the black market of the minerals. I usually say that a lot of Africans are very ignorant about a lot of things. Now, this may sound very funny, but last time I was saying, I said something that made Keith laugh, but that was the truth. There are some people who don't even know that beyond their own countries, there are other African countries. Okay? And when we are to gauge or when we are to look at people in Africa, no one is less important because we need each and everybody in every sphere. All right, so we cannot say we are going to neglect the ignorant ones, all right, for the fact that they know nothing, but it is the same thing with the minerals. When people don't know the value of what to fight for, it is very hard for you to convince them to fight. Because how many African people can even afford a gold necklace? They have even never seen it. And if there is somebody who has it, that one is also categorized in a different category. And we are satisfied for not having the gold. All right, we have the necklaces with that gold color on it, but when it's not gold, and people are satisfied about it. And if I wake up to go and hustle, I don't hustle because I want to have gold. Okay? So, when people don't know the value of something or the worthiness of something, then most of them don't have a reason to fight. I said this still, I'm connecting this a little bit to the situation in Uganda. There are lots of people who don't feel like they experience what some other people experience in the country. And these are the people who keep on making the same decisions to vote the same person each time and again. Because for them, they don't buy fuel, so they don't care how much fuel is going to cost. Their products are bought from their farmlands, they don't transport these products. It's people who come from the city and buy, so they don't transport, so they don't know how expensive transport is. These people don't even know the cost of electricity, the tariffs of electricity are quite high because whether the electricity is on or whether the electricity is on or off, they have the solar lights. So, and these are the biggest population of people. And now let's look at most of the capitals because Uganda has different cities. Let's look at the people living in the main city, of course, which is Kampala. Each and every day we see new buses, taxis, and different means of transport bringing new people down to the city. And a lot are still being born back in the villages and all that. That means there is always change each time and again, but there are places that don't change, and those are the countryside. Okay, these people have got their mentality fixed on something, and this is something they wake up to work for each and every day. All right. There is no increase in rent. They are owning their own land. There is no one who's going to increase the rent of where they're sleeping. And yeah, if you know what I mean. Now, given the example of Uganda, I'm expanding this to the corners of Africa. We have the minerals everyone talks about. I personally have not seen uranium in its raw material. But I know the goodness of uranium, despite I may even find it and I'm just like, I don't know what that's it. I don't know how real diamond looks like in its raw form. I might even bypass it. All right. So we are looking at the riches, at the wealth that Africa has. Yet the biggest populations of Africa have never even set their eyes on these very things. It is very hard for you to wake up and say, all right, Maria, we're going to fight for somebody over the other side. You are telling me about the beauty. You're telling me about the goodness of this somebody. And I've actually never seen this person. It's a different case with someone who has ever seen, touched, or tested the goodness of that particular thing. And this is why it is very important for Africans to stay ignorant about the power they have, about the minerals they hold. This is why each time we see a lot of bazungus trying to go to the national parks to, of course, hunt down or poach, you will see Africans trying to fight back. These are things they see. They know this is a lion, and yeah, now what are you doing about that? I know this lion. Someone is ready to defend because they have seen this. Someone's ready to defend a lot of things they have seen. And all these are like myths. They are like stories that they're not even sure of. So there is, like I was saying, there is a lot. People need to get to know what exactly we have. Let someone understand. Innocent was saying we don't have markets or we don't have places where we find these things. If at all you are an African and you're found with gold or you're selling with gold, there is a lot of security that is around these minerals. And in most cases, it is not the Africans running the security, but the people who claim that they own these things. Don't do this. No African is allowed to be selling gold on the market. No African is allowed to be selling diamond. It is illegal. Because there are specific people who are doing that. All right. Why is it illegal for you to sell something? And at times, these things are discovered in our own land. Okay, these things are discovered in our own land, but you're not allowed to be seen selling that. Even when you go to a bank to try and sell gold, you may even end up being arrested from the bank because you don't have documents that are supporting this gold. Yet we're having a lot of bazungus taking Africa's gold and everything, and nobody is questioning them. Last week, of course, another United Nations truck fell, and we saw the gold that, of course, was hidden in that truck. but let an African person be found with this. Now there is that condition that put a lot of Africans into of accepting that for us gold is not ours. Even if it is in our country, it is not ours. And some people are coming in terms with that. All right. Diamond is in Africa, but it is not ours. And people have come in terms with that. And even some people don't even know what it is. And that is why we even don't have some of the names. Because now you're not going to talk to a local person and you're telling the person who has never been to school and they're talking about gold. And they're going to be like, what is really gold? What does that mean? All right. What does gold mean? I don't know. So even if you ask me what diamond, how diamond is called in my local language, I don't know. I'll just have to ask my mom about that. I'm not sure. But I know we have diamonds. I don't know. Let me see. We have got zabu. Zabu is gold, I think. Zabu. I don't know. So you can see that we don't even have these things exist here, but we don't have most people even don't know how they are called, or maybe we don't even have their local names. I don't know whether we have the local names or what. But I've not had most apart from gold being called the zabu. I don't know what other things are called. So you can see we don't have that familiarity with these things that we should be familiar with. It is very hard for you to stand up and fight for something that you're very ignorant about. It is very hard for you to start talking about, okay, right, probably you're trying to unite everybody to fight against the exploitation of Africa's minerals when people don't even know what these minerals are. They are the users of these minerals, are the strength these minerals hold over the economy and the development of the country. You need to take them through a very huge phase, and which a lot of people are not willing to do. All right? A lot of people are not willing to do. Because, and this is why we have a lot of young people out there fighting for the wrong cause. But anyway, even people are always excited about these wars. They're always excited about the conflicts. Because for them, it's about you have to be out there killing each other. You have to be out there probably shooting back at the police and what for you to show your strength. There is being strong in a stupid structure. There is being strong. Being strong and being wise are two different things. All right. So we're trying to showcase our strength at the end of the day, end up dying in a tunnel, or at the end of the day, losing our loved one for no reason, because it is a shame for us to have people die, and at the end of the day, we bring somebody else into power who's still gonna be doing the same shit that people have been dying for. What is that called? Isn't that stupidity? But here, of course, don't discuss about that. We want to see people fight. Teach people what to fight for. Let people know what to fight for. And let them be in the right positions when they are fighting for that thing. All right? You're not going to be seated around in the capital of Kinshasa and you are fighting for the gold. You are leaving the mines and the Bazungus are taking the gold behind, whereas the black people, the Congolese in Kinshasa are dying. What kind of nonsense is that? Is that fight? You're killing your fellow black people and others who are instead of you facing the real person who is taking what is rightfully yours. You are fighting a war and 755 kilometers away, 7,055 kilometers away from the sport. What is the volume of that? If it's gonna be gold, then you should fight for those people who are taking it, starting from the mines. Stop them from mining. Stand up and fight. Stop them from mining. If there are Bazungus there, chase them away from there. If you're trying to come to the capital city and you're, of course, causing chaos, no Mzungu is even going to get hurt. For them, they are continuing with their daily businesses. The little black people who have been building something small, they're also losing it. Now they're in the same struggle. The buildings you are demolishing are not the building of the people you're fighting. These are buildings of the poor people who have suffered to make sure that they rise this and they're having their saloon, small businesses. You are rooting, stealing their things, and then you're telling me, oh yeah, we are fighting for because what are you? Don't you know where to go to? Now, this is the problem. I, Maria, cannot be seen trying to root around. You're going in a poor lady's saloon, stealing all her saloon equipment, and you're proudly on TV. We are fighting. For what are you fighting for? Do you even know? Because this is
the aerobic saloons and I guess there is what we call excitement, and there is what we call that is what is called struggle. The real people are fighting for the real cause. The thieves are also fight. They also of course are fighting for whatever they are fighting for. Kitegeera. Why someone is robbing the saloon? Yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry for that. My power is not stable here. You know, it has been raining throughout the day. That's why I'm having this cardigan. So power is fluctuating, is unstable. But I don't know what Maria was up to. But I remember by the time, of course, the powers had gone off, she was supplementing about the value for minerals here. Like we don't know what value is for a certain mineral here. But besides that, of course, going back to today's topic, the reasons, of course, behind Russia-Mali nuclear deals. When we look at the nuclear, of course, the construction or building, whatever, nuclear plants in Africa, this is not, of course, a bad idea. I couldn't wish for my fellow brothers and sisters in Mali, Burkina Faso, and other countries, Guinea, where Russia is putting existence. But my concern is about the factors these people are standing on to build these nuclear plants in, of course, in these West African countries. I mean, the Russian people, they're putting a lot of conditions. They are putting a lot of conditions that are accompanying the construction of these plants. I've not seen so much direct, appearances of Russia in Uganda. At least for the Chinese, I can give a testimony. But apart from what we read in articles and what we hear about other people talk about Russia, I've not seen I've not seen these people. But if Russia is like China, these countries are bygones now. There is no peace. There is no peace these countries are going to, of course, to get, because Russia. What I've seen with Russia supports juntas. It supports the juntas. It doesn't allow these people to transit, of course, governance to the civilians or to the other people. If at all they supported you to win the coup, they want you. They want that person to remain in power. They don't want anyone else to come out and say, like, I want to be a leader of this country stuff. They want that person they supported. However, when we look at Mali, uh, uh, the president of Mali per now, the current head of state of Mali, is interim President Assimi Goïta, of course, who took power for a second time on 24th May 2021 after dismissing previous interim President Ba Dua in 2021. So this is a person that, of course, promised the people of Mali, I mean Goita, he promised the people of Mali to, of course, to uh, transit power or to give power back to the people, back to the civilians. But we are seeing the same guy is still, of course, in power even up to today. So I don't blame, actually, I put all the blame to the people that are behind this man, the people that are supporting this man, the Russians that are supporting this man. They are not letting him go because he's supporting whatever ideas they have for Mali, whatever issues they have for Mali. They are because of course, this Goita. So Goita is making life easy for Russia in, of course, in Mali. So construction of nuclear plants, like I said, it wouldn't be a bad idea in African countries. We see in Burkina Faso, Russia started projects. We see in Guinea, Russia started projects there. And we are seeing, of course, treaties signed, of course, in Mali. But like I said, Russia, for me, my own examination, my assessment on Russia, what I've seen, like it supports these junta presidents. First of all, Africans will have that mindset, like we want young leaders to lead stuff, to lead stuff. That's why these juntas, they made coups in those different, of course, West African countries with the support of Russia. People actually welcomed these, of course, junta governments. When we talk about Ibrahim Traore of Burkina Faso, we see this Goita. So people welcomed them when they were coming. But when there is an external strong, when there is a strong external influence behind, we can't achieve political, social, and economic changes in a country. We can't achieve that. We can't achieve political, social, and economic changes in a country because the oppressors, they have the same, of course, goals. Their goals don't change. They have the same goals they are aiming at and their resources. And in reality, African countries, we could have depended on resources. So what do these people do? Because these nuclear plants they are constructing, uh, they are not constructing them for free. Anyway, we also want them in Uganda. Why is it that they are not here? Why is it they are not here? So why is it that we are not seeing nuclear plants if at all they are not accompanied with a certain condition? Why is it that in Uganda we don't have them here? Why don't they come and construct them? Why don't they just construct them anywhere in Africa? Why is it that specific countries? It is because they have, of course, interest in the country's mineral rich. They want to get something out of these countries. That's why they will construct them in the name of deals, of course, deals which mean loans. They will construct. There is a way these white people plan for Africans. They can construct something from nowhere, something that is not even relevant. That's something that is not needed. A case in point in the Chinese. Look at the Chinese. They are constructing irrelevant infrastructure in many of the African countries. Irrelevant infrastructure in the name of loans, because for them they know they are going to achieve at the end. So whether you like it or not, they will just they will impose something on you, whether you like it or not, as long as you collaborate with them. And there is no way you deny. You can't deny. They are the same people. They are the planners of the country. You can't deny. But in exchange, you have to exchange the country's mineral rich. If the country is rich in gold, the country is rich in coal, these people have to take it without question, without taxing those minerals they take out. Otherwise, when they put their existence in a certain country, they don't pay taxes. That's why we see a lot of we see a lot of taxes coming out in different countries. When you look at Kenya, actually, Kenya is the clear example now that is in the picture that we see now, where we have seen people trying to resist unfair taxes, unfair bills that are going to be made laws to, of course, to oppress the people of Africa or the people of Kenya. But we saw Ruto wanted to sign this bill, the financial bill. There were days before, actually, there were days after the US visit. Now he comes back. Now he wants to sign the bill that he was having a lot of unfair taxes to the people of Kenya. So this is what I've been saying, that when these people control you, if you become a puppet, you don't have any say about anything. It is them to control you on a remote. It is them to control you on a remote. You don't have to say anything. All you have to do is to listen to whatever they tell you to do. You have to listen at whatever they tell you to do. It's the same thing that is happening in these, of course, in these West African countries, many of these Western African countries. I don't think, yeah, the nuclear plant stuff is good for electricity and other stuffs Maria talked about. But is it what we need right about now in those countries? When you look at these West African countries, is it that it is during this time that we need these nuclear plants in those countries? Is it something that is so much demanded in these countries? People are unemployed. People are suffering with famine. Many of these West African countries, you may even find the health facilities in Mali, Burkina Faso, and other countries. They're very bad. A lot of things that happened during the French existence in these West African countries, Mali inclusive, the same things that are still existing, apart from chasing out the French troops, apart from expelling the French media in those countries. But we have not seen tremendous, of course, changes. Gabon inclusive. We have not seen tangible changes in these countries. We have not seen tangible. We have not seen tangible success in these countries, apart from the coups that happened, expelling the troops of the French and stuff. But Russia now is moving around these countries, constructing nuclear plants, which is not a bad thing. But is it what we need right about now in those countries? Is it the demanding thing? Is it what people of Mali want now? Do people of Gabon, do people of Ivory Coast, do people of Burkina Faso want nuclear plants now? Do they want? Yes, it is a kind of, it improves technology, stuff like Maria told me, you will elaborate stuff. But is it what we need right about now? When you look at most of the West African countries, including Nigeria, there is low rate. When you compare the statistics say that When you look at the school-going children, they are very low. So I think these are the first things that actually these countries could have addressed faster than the issue of the nuclear plants that they are constructing right about now. Anyway, should you think that it's going to tackle the challenges, the problems these people, the West African people are going through? So was it revised very well, or it was just influenced by Russia? Because it is not coming for free, like I said, it is not coming for free. It is attached with it comes in a loan form which must be paid. And at the time, with these people, they even get land leases. Yes, we constructed now that nuclear plant. Now lease us your land for 100 years. I saw it with the Chinese. They constructed a certain dam here, Maria. The Chinese constructed a dam in exchange to be leased the land for 99 years. Can you imagine? To be leased. So the president is there. Have you ever seen any president lasting here in this modern politics, in this modern era? Have you ever seen a president living up to 99 years? So someone signs something and leaves it there for other people to suffer.
This is what I was saying. Before we even, because you see, first of all, even let me give an example of Kenya. Even if Ruto was the vice president, when Ruto came into power, he found a lot of debts and he found a lot of deals. And he also did his bullshit. Hmm? This is what I was saying. Now, if you are signing agreements where Chinese are having a certain land leased to them for 90 years, what is that? Hmm? For 90 years, we need people who are coming to change the structure. People who are strong enough to change, people are strong enough to terminate these agreements, these fake, idiotic agreements that have been signed by the previous leaders, the previous politicians before. Who is strong enough to do that? And if you do that, of course, that means you're standing against those other countries that want to use Africa, like China, Russia, the US, UK, France, and all those, Germany, and all those countries that want to use Africa. That means you want to stand against them. Who is doing that? This is what I mean when I talk about we need a different structure. Not that every leader comes. When we change, definitely we're going to have another new structure. Who said that? We are not going to have new structures because now that is an example. What INNOSSETU just said, we have a Chinese who signed contracts of owning lands for apparently 90 years plus. And that means when you come into power, they bring documents that we signed the contracts. We are supposed to have this land for 90 years. So as you are coming in, who is strong enough to break these deals? This is the new structure system that I'm talking about. Not the faces. I don't care which face is coming into power because I don't eat them faces. No faces don't feed me. We don't care. But the structures feed us. The system does. It controls everything. I don't care whose face is coming into chair. I don't care who is coming into leadership. I don't really give a damn who is. What tribe is speaking or whatever. I don't care. I care if the person is going to be a Mzungu anyway. But if it's going to be an African, I don't care where you're coming from. All as me, what I think that we need is a different structure. Because even this every leader that comes, these people don't sign agreements that are lasting for 4, 5, 6 years. And this is why you find that most of them make sure they make up to it that The leaders that sign the agreements with them don't leave power because they're a little bit frightened. Somebody else may come and cut short these agreements, which at the end may not benefit them. So they have to secure their people into power because they still want to see this, and this is
Okay. So, um, um, a lot of at least the countries in Africa that have got chance to change leadership, the, the countries that have African countries that have got chance to, of course, to change different faces. Most of the African countries we have heard that most of the African countries they're having one face for a long time. But the countries that have got chance in Africa to see new faces within a shortest period of time, a case in point, South Africa, Kenya, it has been getting different presidents. It has had actually uh, uh, a number of presidents starting from Kenyatta from independence. Tanzania has also experienced different phases. Congo's did had different phases. Um, Even other countries like Nigeria, countries like Zimbabwe, uh, countries like there are countries that have tried to get different faces over time, but these countries are still facing the same problems despite of the faces they changed. Despite there are a lot of things that are happening in these countries. These countries, despite of changing faces of presidents, but they still are having the same problems. So should we look at the case of Congo? Congo has been, of course, getting different presidents. Sekedi, who actually got power from someone, what stuff, but Congo is still going through a lot. Congo is going through a lot. So should we think these people they're not seeing what these countries are going through? Hmm? But Deborah, Deborah,
we know that like I was saying, the only reason behind all these deals, people claim to know what Africa wants, but when in the actual sense, even the Africans don't know what they want. This is why it is easy for someone to come and think for you, and they plan for you, and they decide for you, and you agree with their terms and conditions because actually you don't even know what you need as a continent. You don't even know the powers you have. This is where we have seen that it is very easy, for people to come and now signing deals. We want to see deals that are signed between, we want to see emerging of deals and agreements between Africa to African countries. We want to see deals that are being signed between Nigeria and probably South Africa. But Africans will never do that because, first of all, they hate the fact that they are, they hate other Africans. That's one thing. And this is so true each time. Each time you want to talk to another African and you're definitely somebody from somewhere else, the first thing is to look down on where you come from and probably think that definitely you don't understand well stuff. We cannot have a mutual understanding because of that. We need to put whatever difference we have. If at all we don't care the typical difference that we have with other people like the Bazungus, and we end up doing deals with them, then what big difference do we have within each other? What big difference do we have? All right. Yogera kumpulira omutima gukoye.
Galawo mugambe kati gwanagala ewuwo. Anyway, uh, um, so the issue, of Russia, of course, going on to different West African countries, uh, plants, nuclear plants. I think this is this is Russia's idea, not Burkina Faso, not Gabon, not Guinea, not Mali's decision. These are not African decisions. However, it might be so important. It might
Tosoma, tobisoma, ojja bisoma edda.
osindika byangi. So, like I'm saying that it's not, of course, West African countries' idea for them to, of course, to have nuclear plants in their areas of state. However much there are a lot of challenges that could be affecting these countries, but Russia is keeping a deaf ear to these, of course, challenges. These countries are going through. Rather, it is impacting what it thinks it's best, what it thinks that is going to gain from it. Otherwise, I don't think African people are going to gain in this, but we are going to see Russia rather getting whatever it gets out of the so-called nuclear plants and taking it to Russia.
Ogaanye okwewummuza.
Olaba nsirise ng'oyogera. So, and like I said, Mali is going through a lot of challenges that have not been addressed by the so-called interim government that has been in existence. To actually, Goita, uh, Goita, Goita, Goita organized that coup, and of course overthrew that it is that president that was called it. But that president had also come into power through a coup. So these people were saying that were discontented by that person, by the president of Mali. what he was doing. So that's why these people uh, of course, came out and fought the Goita people.
Mwagala mmere. Nkuwa ku mmere.
Yogera.
Ndaba buli lwe nteekayo ettooke ng'omira.
So banno bagenze n'okugenda.
Bagende bakame. Tukooye naffe. Njogera ki sikyategeera. Weggyeemu mute. Kati ngamba.
Yogera.
It's getting dark. It's getting dark over here.
Because you're in your town city. Town city.
You want to see the outside? What you mean next to our house we look at grass such tiles.
Oba baganga.
I don't know. I don't know. Because there are permanent houses here, but there's this grass such house. Let me try to show you. I will show you later. I will show you INNOSSETU. Nsinagwe nasobokala nengamba kyekiriwa. Because wewe enyumba eziyitama ndineko weekali awo. Nendabawo nnyo ebintu. Kiryoke. Naye nga kamera erabise etya?
Bulungi.
Singa eggulo,
Nate neggulo yabadde clear. It was clear even. Good topic.
Kati olwo ntudde kadirisa.
awo temwataddewo ttaka.
Nze kati nkugambye tugenda kuteekawo.
Muteekeyo kati tukyakola kyabula essaawa.
Olaba yakuwalampa ddala.
Kati awo genda eri gyeri eddaala.
Nakugambye ebiwanja okuba nga netiwaka noti kiriya.
Okay.
Kangambe ka Tracy kajje kawalampe.
Yogera gwe tugenda.
Ogiroyogera kanzijjeko kamera. Nzijjeko bawalampe.
Anyway, so a lot is needed for, of course, Africa. We as Africans, we need to wake up. No, actually, we need to wake up, and of course, Kenya has shown an example that things are possible, things can be done, and things can happen. So it is not too late. Apart from, of course, these countries, sorry. So, like I was saying that like Africans, we should know our worth. We should know, of course, ate kati weyongedde mu nzikiza naye at least. So what we need in Africa is, of course, is to revise, is to know our worth. As people outside Africa look at Africa, view Africa in a situation, in a way that Africa is rich, let's understand that. Let's know how we are going to utilize that richness, apart from giving it to outsiders to enjoy it. We normally get, of course, some people become emotional when they see a lot of people become emotional when they see Africans buying product. Actually, of course, people become emotional when they see, of course, a lot of goods coming from out. These people take resources outside. They take our resources. At the end of it, we import goods from their countries into uh, 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 we import them into our country and we buy them expensively. So if at all what the little we have, we can utilize it to construct industries that can exploit, that can refine our minerals so that they have value, they have a good value, so that we can create whatever that we need here in Africa. Those people, they should be buying whatever that we are having here expensively, rather taking it in, of course, our own black market. They should bow down to us, rather it wouldn't be us bowing down to them. Why is it that we consider ourselves to be very poor, not to understand how things are done, not to uh, I was jazzing with uh, I was jazzing with the border man one day.
Whenever bored.
Yeah, border men. There is a way they analyze the things, and by the before things come to media, border men have a clue on them. I don't know why are these people get. I don't know. I don't know where these people get the information, whatever information they have. But before things come to media, border men know. Border men know. So I was guessing with the border men. He had his analysis. He said there is no African country here on the continent that can stand on itself, or on it can stand on itself without the Western influence. That is what the guy told me. That whether you like it or not, there must be a white man behind an African country.
I think it is easy.
Sorry, go and mute it. So, that was the analysis of this border guy. He said there is no an African country that can stand by itself without the backup of the Bazungu. Even the dictators that we are having here in Africa, they were once, even those people that pretend that for us we are not a pro Bazungu. This is a pro Bazungu country, supported country. Those dictators, they were once the white people once supported these people. The white people once gave of course instructions to different countries. These countries once depended on the instructions of these bazungus. So they always look for bazungus always look for opportunity in different African countries. And when it comes to the so-called young leaders, the Gen Z, the generation is
Yes.
Z. The generation Z,
Well, that's yellow.
the generation Z leaders, it is worse
Anti
because
tuloza tutegeera nnyo.
eh,
Anti tuloza tutegeera nnyo. But at some point, you see the reason why it seems like it is very hard for Africa as a continent to, of course, stand on its own and do its own shit, because we are internally and externally divided. So we cannot. If Uganda decides to say, I'm definitely going to break away from all these, let me say, Ashun Bazungu and their influence, that means you cannot work with the other countries that have not, you know, let go the influence of the Bazungu. That means if Uganda says, for example, I'm breaking away from the Chinese, the Russians, the Americans, and all that. And then Kenya is still with the Americans. Then Americans are like, if you want to continue with that deal, then you're not going to have a trade relationship with Uganda. And that means Kenya has also to break off from Uganda because it's supposed to, kiss the asses of its, team of Bazungus. So now you can see why it is a little bit hard. But if we decided to, of course, work together as Africans and come to the same agreement, all right, it would be a different thing entirely. We have continents like America and all that, and we see different countries in all these things, but they seem to be very different, but they're not extremely as different as the Africans are within each other. Okay, which is quite a little bit difficult, of course. But this can be achieved if we unite for the same cause. I believe so. Because we have had a lot of influence, we have had a lot of external influence until to date. Sina muka. Enyota yanomye edda siraba mazzi.
So, uh, and this is where I want to ask Maria: do different African countries, do they need young leaders? Do they need young leaders?
I don't know how important being a young leader is.
Do we need young leaders in Africa? Because when you look at the population, actually, someone will tell you that when you look at the population, the population is young. This is a young population, so it needs a leader that, of course, that relates with the population that we are having. So some people will tell you that, someone will tell you that when someone is young, is very flexible to do whatever that the country needs to do. If it needs to go into their
There
life,
is
it goes. Someone will tell you
no.
that young leaders, their mind is very sharp. They still have ambitions in their mind. They think less about death. So, in Africa, do we need a young leader, or do we need young leaders like a young president? Someone is 24. The other time in 2020, it was 2021. Was it 2021? We had someone contesting here in Uganda for presidents when he was 24 years, who was called Katumba. Maria is gone. 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 But um, so for someone who is watching me right about now, you can still share your views. You can share your views through the comment section for those that are watching me from different media platforms. So this is the question I was posing to Maria, that in Africa, do we need young leaders? Because a lot of people look at this, they look at the young generation as people who are flexible to do the country work, as people who can move, people who think less about this, think less about death. As when someone looks about a young person, this is someone who is ambitious. However, I don't know why people think, when you look at actually, for the case of Uganda, many of the youths, of course, gather around the politician called Bobby Wine because they think he's young. But this guy is an old man who is making his 45 years, I think, in this year, if not 46, is someone who is growing. But when you look at politics, when someone is in his 40s, they think he's young. When you look at Traoré, Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso, when of course he came to power, people saw that, look at this young leader. I think we are going to get best out of this guy. The same thing happened to the Togolese president, who is 39 something, 30, is between 39 and 30, between 39 and 40, the Togolese leader. So people have a lot of interests in these young leaders. So are these leaders the best? I was saying that in 2021 here in Uganda, we had a presidential candidate who was 24 years. However, he did not come through. He did not actually win, sorry. But do we need young leaders in real sense? Do we need young leaders? Because when you look at, when you analyze very well the protests that were in Kenya, these were protests, actually, the general protests that we always have in, of course, in African countries. These are protests that we have that are led by, of course, youths. But at the end of the process of the protests, we don't see youths coming in power. We don't see youths coming in power. We don't see them. We don't see them coming in power. We don't see any youth to be elected as a prime minister. We don't see any youth coming out for a certain post. But it is still it is ndaba kibuuzo kyange.
Go serious.
Nikulinza where is the video? I'm not seeing your video.
Which video? Which video?
Sikulaba, njagala kulaba ku video. Robert Williams is lost.
Tanga wali na walosinza agenza wacha.
Has been lost. Seriously. Go for it. Tabuse.
Nyonta yanumye kuva, it's like 3 hours now.
Mufumba amazzi mu kiri ekitamu.
Tufumbye amazzi.
Kisaana kiri ekitamu. Kisaana kiri ekitamu ate ne mugaleka.
Ekyo kya round.
Ekyo ekitamu ekinene kisaana ne mugagira ne mugalekamu nga gayidde.
Kyetaaga kyoto naawe.
Kati what does it take for you to make it?
Mpozi njagala maama yaba akikola.
Kati giggale nno oba okooye.
Ndira mutabani okuddirisa.
Giggale.
Ereku ku 3.
yogera kandi nange yogera.
wano gwe osaaga.
All right. All right. Um, when we talk about the Russia's influence in Africa, we see that Russia seeks to gain influence in Africa in several ways, from disinformation campaigns sending to Wagner Group missionaries, and of course, someone may ask, why is Africa so important to Vladimir Putin up and now? Hmm? Someone asked, why is Africa so important for Putin right about now? You see that Russia is of course trying to undermine democracy in more than a 2 dozen African countries. So the main tools Russia uses are political interference, political interference, disinformation, and extra constitutional claims of power. So, countries such as Botswana, Zambia, and Tunisia voted for just and lasting peace in Ukraine, while Mali and of course Eritrea voted against it, and 15 other African countries of course abstained during the vote. So Russia's influence on African countries might play role in this, but how exactly does Russia strengthen pro-Russian and anti-Western narratives? We see that when we look at of course. Why, of course, is Africa an important target for the Russian propaganda? One of the Russia's key aims is to gain diplomatic legitimization of its war in Ukraine. Russia really needs Africa. So those African governments that lack domestic checks and balances create an environment that allows Russia to exert influence on the continent. They are often themselves isolated international and therefore welcome partners for Russia. So even prior to the Ukrainian war, we saw Russia aggressively trying to build support for its policies, often when they were contrary to the European or NATO or North American policies. So African continent's largest technology, of course, network, which is called Africa. We saw that told, of course, a certain press. So Russia, on the other hand, is important for many African countries in the UN Security Council. Russia often sides with other autocratic countries. So Russia, I was saying that Russia wants to provide, of course, alternative markets to the Northern European and the US economies that, of course, Russia currently is locked out. So the Wagner's influence on Africa, we see that Wagner Group, this is of course a mercenary group that is asides with Russia. So additionally, Russia's military engagement plays an important role in African countries. So the Wagner Group mercenaries are active in countries such as Mali, and they are still there. The Mali that we are talking about today, Libya, they still exist, the Central African Republic, but these countries have not attained full peace. They still have instabilities right about now. However, these mercenaries, they went in those countries in the name of keeping peace, which doesn't mean sense today if we see that these countries, they are still having instabilities, including Mali itself. So in return for the services, the Wagner troops again access the raw materials such as gold. The Wagner group also plays role in spreading Kremlin's political influence. So these people, they don't work for free. They always work for minerals. They work for an opportunity. They want to get minerals out of Africa. So however much they pretend to be providing peace, to be giving Africa peace, but they're looking for minerals. They want gold. They want to achieve something at the end of the day. So that's why they keep on forcing, let me say forcing themselves on Africa. That's why I said that the Russian Mali nuclear plant deal. This is not a, this wasn't an idea that was developed by Goita. This was Russia's idea. This was Putin's idea to, of course, different African countries. So let me call it, it is an operation, because when you look at all those Western African countries where Russia is putting, of course, influence or resistance, these are countries that are, of course, that are receiving that idea, that Russia is sending that idea of building nuclear plants. So it is its operation to construct nuclear plants to these areas, to these West African countries. Kitegeera? So it is their plan to create these nuclear plants for exchange for minerals, because there are a lot of things that could be addressed faster than these nuclear plant deals. At least they could invest in infrastructure, they could invest in health, they could invest in education, because most of those countries, they have the level of education is very low. People are suffering in poverty. They could combat poverty. They could, of course, bring poverty eradication programs within those countries. But why is it that they are bringing out this nuclear deal? Is it going to combat the the unemployment level in those countries? Is the nuclear plant going to combat the low education levels in Mali? Is it it going to combat the instabilities that are within Mali, despite of the Wagner group being there to be providing peace in exchange for minerals like gold? So it doesn't make any, of course, sense. So we see that in Mali, for example, after 10 years of helping in the fight against the Islamist militants, France withdrew its forces after failing to achieve the desired impact. So Mali has also requested the UN withdrawal in its, of course, MINUMOSA peacekeeping mission. So Mali is clearly distancing itself from the former colonial masters and instead is collaborating more closely with Russia today. So when like I said, Russia is of course is using three strategies. Is using political interference in different African countries to put its existence here in Africa. It is using propaganda, and it is also interfering with economic issues in Africa. This is how, of course, Putin's propaganda is spreading in African countries. Russia, as a country, uses social media to spread much of its propaganda and disinformation. So the Wagner group is, of course, the main subject. Is the main subject of several cartoon propaganda video on the continent. The Wagner group in Africa, where actually most of the West African countries, they have this Wagner staff group. And when you look at, of course, the several cartoon propaganda videos on the continents, for example, targets targets Mali, Burkina Faso, and Ivory Coast. In one of the scenes in the video, Russian soldiers fighting Mali against the French zombies, of course, symbolizing French soldiers. These are cartoon pictures, but having huge or having detailed information. So this was the zombies in that cartoon, of course, video. The zombies say that they are President Emmanuel Macron. Macron is demons. That Mali is our country. You see. So the video, of course, the caricature of Macron also says that France will reconquer Africa. So this narrative of the neo-colonialist West, of the neo-colonialist West is frequently used by the Russia. So these types of propaganda are directly linked to Russia. They are directly linked to Russia. So very many West African countries came out and expelled the French people because of some of these propaganda videos that were circulating on the media. So they were showing the Russian, the Wagner group, Russian, of course, forces. They were in cartoon form. This was a video that was in a cartoon form that was showing the Russian military fighting zombies, and the zombies were the French army. And in the French army, there is a cartoon that was showing the president of France, Macron, saying that he will reconquer Africa. So most of West African countries were like, "You're going to reconquer Africa, so it means we are still under colonialism." That's why actually most of them they came out to expel France from these countries. It was because of the propaganda that was created by Russia during that time. So also Russia, we see that it pays African influencers to spread its propaganda. It has been seen where a business influencer with more than 1 million followers on Facebook, for example, frequently posts anti-Western and pro-Russian content right after Russia's invasion in Ukraine, of course in Ukraine. When you look at influencers, I was like, the other time I was asking you, where do these people, where do African people get those flags? Where do they get those Russian flags? Do you remember when I asked you that where do these of course African people get these Russian flags? You see them on social media with the Russian flags. Someone has had you with the Russian flag, with the Russian flag. So it is because Russia is paying the influencers. If at all you have 1 million followers on Facebook, you must be, of course, you must post pro Russian content. And of course, you have to be frequently posting anti-Western and pro-Russian content. So Russia is using a lot of strategies, of course, to put its existence here in Africa. So it is we to work. It is, of course, we Africans to wake up. We started Russia as a country has a large network of media spreading propaganda in Africa. So the Russian embassies also play an important role in spreading disinformation. In the early, of course, we see that the Russian embassy in South Africa posted an allegedly screenshot of an article from the news outlet in Puerto Rico with a title of course, 20 billion lives for the sake of freedom. The title was like 20 billion lives for the sake of freedom. This was an embassy that, of course, it was the Russian embassy in South Africa that posted an alleged screenshot of an article from the new outlet of Puerto Rico, of Politico, with a title of 20 billion lives for the sake of freedom. So what does that mean? It means a lot in political issues. So the embassy added the following comment on this post. NATO is pushing war to be fought until the last Ukrainian, blaming NATO for Russia's war in Ukraine. So a closer look and some research shows that the screenshot is fake. So Puerto Rico, of course, Politico never published this article. So the English grammar and spelling is fake in the screenshot, are full of errors, and the Puerto Rico logo of the luxury screenshot is fabricated. So the Russian embassy in South Africa has since deleted the post, but it already had more than 100,000 views on Twitter. So Russia's state-owned media, the RT channel, has, of course, expanded its network in Africa today. So RT, this is a Russian-owned media and has various ventures with the media on the African continent, such as the Afric media that spread pro-Russian and anti-Western propaganda. So we see that there are even radio stations and newspapers financed by the Russian institutions such as the Lengo Sego and of course in the John Sango in the Central African Republic. We know that Russia has too much existence in the Central African Republic today. It has a lot of influence in the Central African Republic today. But of course, how successful, we see that someone may ask, how successful is Russia's attempt to influence African countries today? We are seeing it is influencing things in very many African countries. Looking at of course, at these nuclear deals that it's doing across Africa, it shows a success for Russia, because these are African, of course, countries with the presidents that are accepting this influence freely. They are accepting this influence freely, but we see some of the African countries are influenced by the Russia's propaganda, while others are not. However, we see that Russia's influence is biggest in the Central African Republic, Mali, Sudan, Zimbabwe. So countries where the Wagner, of course, group operates. When we see that Central African Republic is at the top of the list when it comes to Russian influence, especially in the form of the military trainers who act like advisors to the president. So Russia's, of course, popularity also harks back to Soviet times and the fact that it was not among colonial powers during the colonization era. So that's why African people look at Russia as of course, as someone who's sympathetic to Africa, because it was not among the colonial masters. So this gives it a clear advantage. We see that many African countries enjoyed the Kremlin support when they were fighting for independence in the 20th century. So still, opinions of many African citizens are divided when it comes to the war in Ukraine. Among citizens in South Africa, Kenya, Nigeria, Uganda, Senegal, and Zambia shows that the majority think that Russia's invasion of Ukraine was against the principles of international law. That's why, of course, while Russia is not the only country or region trying to influence Africa, it's not the only. So Africa sees the Russian leadership as an extraordinary threat to Africans. So they undermine open societies, they undermine the ability of citizens to make their own choices, among others. So yogerako wabula mpulira akamiro kanzita.
Ewange wali ebireekaana maama. Ewange wali ebireekaana. But anyway, we know that Russia pursues a combination of military, diplomatic, and economic interests in Africa. And militarily, we know that Russia mostly focuses on weapon trade. But it is also seeking to expand its operational footprint. of course, which includes issues like the signing of different agreements. For instance, this particular Mali nuclear deals it has signed, and of course, we know that it also signs new agreements for new military bases within the African continent. We know that Russia's official military presence on the ground is currently limited to an agreement to eventually establish a naval port in Sudan, and we know so soon we are going to see, of course, that in Sudan. Diplomatically, Russia's overreaching goal is to gain more support for its vision of a multipolar world order based on weakened Western influences. Now we know that we all know that Russia and the Western countries have had, a scramble for Africa, and they still have this scramble where Russia comes out to show the Africans that we are the favorable allies compared to those. Now that the United Nations, we know it lobbies African allies for favorable votes on issues such as the Ukraine conflict and works to show distrust with the UN peacekeeping missions and other multilateral efforts. We know that Russia is looking at Africa more than elsewhere. Okay, and of course we know that Russia has been so present in Africa with this. And you can recall that recently Russia or Putin has been out there trying to show Africans, and of course, what Africans call opening their eyes. But we know that Putin is doing this for his own selfish gains, and is trying to uncover the covered things or the covered sins of the Western to his benefits. Because actually, most of these things he's uncovering are truth, okay? And he knows how dirty the Western countries have. He knows how dirty America is. He knows how dirty the Western is, and he's trying as much to uncover, to win the favor of Africans, and I think this is really working. We know recently, of course, when he came out to tell people that Jesus was black and all that, and all Africans were like, wow. And he was like, I'm gonna kiss your asses for just what I want. I think that's what he's on. And he's not ashamed to say a lot of things because in order for him to gain interest. I don't know what that is, but anyway, like I was saying that, oops, unmute.
I thought you're God.
Nakala wakati.
But now,
Kasukujengeka. Kasukamarisema kati. Sakandebera bise. But anyway, like I said that Russia is not a powerhouse in Africa. less than 1% of the country's foreign direct investment goes to the African continent, and it's 18 billion US dollars in trade with African countries, lags far behind the United States, which is apparently 64 US dollars, in China, which is 254 and stuff like that. So Russia is not actually a powerhouse.